Hiya, as a lot of you will know, at the moment I'm doing this project of a Mark III Quorn. Now as I'm getting further into it, I'm discovering I'm needing tools, and one of the tools is for making gradients on all of these dials. I can see 3 there. I don't think there's any more, but to carry on doing these, I'm now going to spend 2, maybe 3 episodes where I'm going to make one of these. Now, I got in touch with Hemingway and we spoke on the phone, and I decided on the 1215 kit. Reason being, I think this is a better drawing. This one's on a rack and pinion, and it's also got 3 dedicated depth stops. So as you're doing your graduations on your dials, for example, you can have long ones for zeros and say every tens millimeters, or in thous. You could have every 10 thou, 20, 30, etc. Your second one could be every 5s, so you've got 0, 5, 10, 15, and your last one for say every thous. And you've got a dedicated depth stop where you can then use this when you're marking your divisions on, for example, this piece here, or this dial that's on there. So I'm not going to go through the stock or anything because, well, there's just lots of bits, but this piece uses a rack and pinion. We have a dovetail slide, and I don't know if you can see it on the cutaway there. The rack fits in the dovetail, and then the pinion, this handle, as it rotates, moves the ram in and out. Your cutting edge is here. You can obviously use it on either end. Now I'm going to hold this. I've got a quick change tool post, an Allura type tool post, so I'm going to make this as it's got on the drawing, well, as much as possible anyway. So I hope nobody minds. I'm going to have to diversify and do this kit. I want to do this kit actually. I'm going to find it interesting. I'm going to hopefully try and do it as quick as possible, and then we can get back onto other projects. But the next 2, at least 2, I would say, maybe 3 episodes, we're going to be on this. The first couple of things you're going to see me do, this hopefully is the stock for that. Now it's got 3¼ inches there, and we are just over 4¼ inches. But what I'm going to do, it's got a pip in the end. First off, it tells you might as well take advantage, tilt this over in a vise, which is a damn good idea. Put this hole in first, otherwise you're trying to hold it. Bit of intermittent cutting, but we'll see how it all goes. Now they've got a little pip in there. I'm going to try and be posh. I'm going to try and leave a little pip on the end here, because you'll only be turning, if you've got a centre in there to try and hold it, you'll only be turning into that anyway. So I'm going to try and put a pip up here, and then later on I shall take it off. Yes, I know it's going to leave me something to file away and what have you, but I think that's just going to be the way it is. Same round here. I'm going to have a radius round there of oh, that's a bit fell on the floor. Let's hope it's felt the right way around. That's 6mm. If you can see it there, I don't know, might be too close. So obviously I'm going to have a radius in there of probably slightly bigger than 3. Again, that's just the way it is. We're going to try and blend it in nicely, because at the end of the day this diameter is in fresh air, and if we try and blend it in nicely, it should look nice. Quick plug here, Hemingway do actually make their own spherical turning tool. It was just that before I started doing this project, I made this one following the guidance of two guys on YouTube. I had the bits handy, but to be honest, this is the first time I've used it in anger, so to speak. I did a rough part and then it sat there for a few months, so fingers crossed, and we'll see how it goes. Models I have seen on YouTube that people have done, they drill and tap out. You can see the opposite end to where I'm using the ratchet. They drill and tap out and put a grub screw in there, and it's easier for them to do this alteration. I just haven't got around to doing mine yet. Just set this piece up in the vise and use a digital protractor. I should have really not done the OD as what I did, but I was just getting a bit giddy, I think. Next, I just finished it off with 3/8 BSF taps, which I ended up going out borrowing. A bit short on the ground on Imperial stuff at the moment. Just facing up the opposite end here, and I've just pre-centered it ready for later on, after I finish the two outside diameters the other side of the ball. These were just in fresh air, but I wanted to get these finished first before I finished the back end of this spindle. As I said, these two diameters on this end are basically just in fresh air, so I just fast forwarded, blended them in and made them look nice. There are two critical diameters when doing this end. There is a small pin which is 375, and then next up it steps up to 688. Now these got to be with inside 2 thou, because these sit in the main body later on. I got them to size plus 1 thou and then polished them up, and then later on you just see me with the parting tool. And there's an undercut, and luckily my parting tool fitted in, and this is just for basically like a clevis clamp that holds the actual spindle in place. Well, for once I'm kind of following the list. Next bit on here, it says is this lever. 5 1/8 long, 3/8 stock. We have, it's 5 1/4, so we've got a little bit of room to play with. I'm going to form this end first and run a die down at M6. Like I say, it's just for the this handle here, and I've got a die that's 3/8 BSF, so I'm going to attempt, before I do anything, put a thread on that end, hold it ever so lightly, and I've already machined to put a centre in one end. I'm not bothered if it's a little bit long, it shouldn't be too bad. If it's, I mean, it's only going to be 1/8 of an inch longer anyway. And then form this taper. I might use a small ball-ended button tool that I've got. So we've got a bit of a rad round there, so we'll just give it a bit of strength. Anyway, it doesn't want that much strength. And then it's asking you to insert it into the spindle before you heat it up and bend it. So we'll see how we get on. Right, the plan of action with this, it wants about a 1 degree taper, ever so slightly up there, so we're going to try it. I've got a parting tool that's just been ground a little bit off at the front. Turn this round to the compound round to 1 degree. Small centre in it. We know roughly where we're going to up here. It's about 4.5 inches, I think, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, heated that up, bent it up to, well, approximately the same angle, and give it a quick buff, and bar probably undoing it a little bit and putting a bit of Loctite in there. I would say that bit's now finished. Like I say, they ask you to bend this while you've got this screwed into there, obviously, so you get your angle and everything right. So the lever will obviously work like that, and it looks nice. At this point I took a couple of pictures, but didn't really set the camera up to show me heating this up. I heated it up to cherry red, and then basically just bent it with a spanner and used a protractor gauge until I got the right angle. Okay, carrying on. This is the piece of square material for doing the ram. Now it says 3/4 of an inch, it's actually 19mm if you want to be really pedantic. It's only a thou a bit, but anyway, I flicked it up to 5 inches because at the end of the day there's nothing spectacular in that. What is spectacular is I didn't have a 5:6, so it's back to converting things because mine are all metric. So now I'm going to put this in the vise, get it all clocked up. Obviously the vise is already put on there, lined up, running true. I'm now going to edge fine the back jaw of my vise and then check it against this face here. and I shall explain later. Right, going to start milling this block out now. Now I'm doing it all in metric. I'm using a metric cutter. The block's actually about 19mm wide. I know it's only 0.5, couple of thou, but anyway, if we're going to try and get it as good as what we can, we might as well do it to what size it is. So I'm using a 10mm tool. First off, it tells me to make a slot in the middle. Sorry, not a slot. It's like an island. 3/8 wide, sorry, which is 375, which is 9.53. So I've worked out on either side I've got 4.735mm. So if I've touched on, that's my 0 there, and my 0 is here. That's on my DRO. So I'm adding half of my tool, which is 5, to the distance here. If you take 4.375 off 19, you've got 14.625 plus 5. So on my DRO, when I touch on here, I don't want to go any further than 19.625, but I will be measuring it obviously to get the width across there. And I think it says we're doing it 1/8 deep, so it's going to be this little step here, if you can see that. We're gonna mill out for these islands, but we've got to mill the excess material away first. So we're looking at it that way. We're actually doing this step on either side. I want to try and get it bang on in the centre if we can. So we'll see how we manage. My idea of machining this way is I'm taking the backlash out, and I'm also going in the same direction that I measured against the back jaw. So if I get my size this way first, then I know when I swap over onto the other side, the island I'm doing, I'm not registering, I'm not using the backlash that I will be eliminating. I'm just measuring to a dead size, if you understand what I mean. I just listened to that back, and even I don't understand it. If I come the first face I did, I don't have any backlash because I measured against the back of the jaw. So the size I measure on the width of the job, there's no backlash compensated for because there's no need to. Now once I get that size correct and I go on to the other side, I can measure a dead width, and I'm not interested about any backlash. I just have to reset my DRO. Bollocks. Had loads of problems with this. I've got to pick this milling machine up, I had to slung it through the garage door. I've had to take the gib out, I've had to put the gib back in, I've had to cut it up and down a few times, get it to bed in. It's then been not cutting parallel when it's been climb milling. I've tried it clamped and unclamped, and I've had to adjust the gib again and again just to get it seated right. I've rubbed it down. Quite frankly, this thing was built on a Friday afternoon, and it is really doing my head in. This is the final depth and the final cut on this side. I've even had a depth mic on this side to measure from this face to this face, and I'm within inside 1,000 and the right depth. So now we're going to see if this is within size. We're looking for about metric 9.93. Sorry, 9.53. Right, now I've got 9.5, nearly 5.4 there. Just under 9.54, and this is where it seems to have been running out. So I don't know what it's doing. I've got 9.5, just under 9.5 there. So I'm running at a bit of a mystery here. Excuse me. I've got about, saying that might be just under 9.55. That's about 9.53. Sorry, 5.3. But it's definitely running shy at that end. Anyway, I think we'll have to investigate. Right, I've nipped the gib up again and measured it. Now I've even measured with the depth mic again from the back, and I have definitely got a run of about 1,500 from one end to the other. It's acceptable for this, but it might not be later on when I do the dovetail. So I'll go back and have a look at the gib. It seems to be alright, when I did this side, but it's going back the other way, but the gib might have loosened itself off. So I'm going to do the dovetail when I get around to it first, doing it from this side when I get around to doing it, and see how we go. Next I've got to chop out the middle bit here really, and leave this just two little bits on these webs. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pitch across the distance to where the centre of the slot is, that minus then come over for half the width of my cutter. I'm going to call that 0, and I'm going to set my other 0, obviously the length of the slot minus 1/8, so I can go from 0 up to a gap, come out 0 again, and hopefully all should go well. Soon find out. I've got a thou over at that end. I've got a thou over at that end, so I think we'll live with that. Now we'll see what it's like with the keyway in. Now obviously I've not cut the keyway to length yet, but yes, that's a good fit in there. So obviously I've got to trim this keyway down, put some nice chamfers on the end, but I'm happy with that. I can't feel any play, so my cutter's done good, and I'm a thou deeper than what it's asked for. I think we can live with that. Right, I've come back to my 0 in the centre of the cutter, and the slot, it's 7/16, so it's 7/16 plus half, another couple of 16, so it's 9/16 should land me right in the middle. And then obviously this is 5 inches long. I can pitch across, do the same dimension on that end, and do these two slots in there now. Now all I've done is the amount I've pitched across there from the 0, which was 9/16. I'm taking off because I know the overall length and I know how close it is to 5 inches, and it's within inside a couple of thou if that. So I'm just going to take off the 9/16 from that end and just pitch straight up there, because I've touched on that end. There'll be no backlash, and hopefully these should all be equal. Now I'm going to attempt these dovetails on here, 60-degree dovetails. I've got some cutters, so as we can see we've got a depth from the top of 3/8 and we want a 1/10 thou witness on this face, just a little bit there. So I thought I'll work it out. That's 3/8 and that's an 1/8. That's a 1/4 for the drop. So if I've got my maths right, you've got 250 thou minus your 10 thou for your witness, so you've got 240 thou. So we've got a little triangle. You have to excuse the pencil marks, and the side we're looking for, if we use our Zeus book or whichever toolmaker's book you've got, putting in the formula with the parts that I've got to find this length here, it is 240 times the cotangent of 60 degrees. So obviously cotangents start off at the bottom, come all the way up, 60 degrees, no minutes, 0.57735 times 0.240 gives me this depth of 138 thou and 5/10. Now I checked it with the calculator on my phone and it rounds it up to 0.14 or 140 thou, so I must have done something right, because that agrees with that. So the next thing to do is to get my dovetail set up the side of the job. We've got an approximate size to head for now, once I've got the depth right, to try and leave me a 1/10 thou witness. So fingers crossed. Quick tip for you, I'm going to take this cutter out of here now, and we all know what it's like when we start undoing them and they drop on the floor. You're not going to remember every time and you're going to kick yourself when you don't, but piece of rag in there, plonking underneath there, if it does come out, which this one didn't, it'll drop into there. It can save your cutter. Piece of wood will do, or anything, like I say, anything a bit bigger than that. Put some sponge in the bottom of it, some thick, I don't know, put about an inch piece of sponge in it. Better off dropping on there than smacking a tip up. Right, now it's a long time since I've done any dovetail cutting, if I've done any dovetail cutting. So I've got a 25mm dovetail in there. I've touched on the top, I've come down 375 thou. I am just going to get a touch on and then call that 0 and then move in the amount I calculated, or keeping an eye on it anyway, and trying to leave a 1/10 thou witness on there. And then obviously I'm going to repeat it again on the other side, and fingers crossed I'll get myself a dovetail. Excuse me, I'm trying to burp at the same time, and hopefully get myself a dovetail. So let's see how we get on. Now I'm within according to me figures, are touching on 8 thou that way, and it asks for a 10 thou witness. And I reckon I'm just over 10 thou. I mean, I'm just doing it by eye. There's nothing else I can do about it, really. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a couple of thou, just as like a finishing cut now, and see what we look like. Right, this is my finishing cut now. I'm still about 5 thou, 6 thou shy of the figure I added up to, but the witness is by eye, so I think you take it with a pinch of salt and try and do exactly the same on the other side. Now I've just got a lens for this camera, and I don't know whether it'll focus on it or not, but it's supposed to be like a macro-y thing. Now I'm leaving that. I've got this slight little witness right at the top. I don't know if you can see. I'll have a look when I have a look at this camera. But the size I've got from the touch on, I'm going to try and replicate it exactly on the other side, and obviously keeping the same depth, not moving the cutter at all, except for in Y. I've got a confession to make here. I didn't do this on the back jaw face. I ended up taking the job out and turning it round because of the limited amount of travel in Y on this mill. It's one of the things that really upsets me. I'll go into it sometime, but it looks okay. Apologies again, it asks you, I'd already formed this, cut it down to size and ground it up with a nice rad on it. Then it tells you to drill 2 holes for M3, put the keyway in and use the same settings and drill through. Once you've used 2 smaller holes, you then go back and drill clearance holes for your M3 through the 2 original 2.5mm holes. I then completed the 2 3/16 holes in either end, drilled and reamed. These will take the small cutter that you'll grind up that will actually make the graduation marks. Don't know why, but for some reason, that then stuck. But luckily, it turned out alright. I then just flipped the job over, countersunk the 2 holes that take the M3 cap heads, sorry, they're not cap heads, the countersunks that go and hold the rack in place, and just deburred the other 2 holes where the tools fit in. Right, well, things might seem a little bit out of focus for these now. I've changed this lens to try this cheapy macro lens off eBay. We'll see what it looks like in a bit. So this is the RAM. These are the two holes that are going to hold the tool bits that you make the divisions with. One, the reamer went a bit baggy, so that was a brand new reamer, so I swapped over to an old reamer and it seemed to ream it a bit better. It might have been me and my reaming methods. I'll probably explain everything else that's gone along. That's where the rack's going to go. Like I say, this is just some shots with this lens. If it works, I shall now swap over to the old one. Right, if that's just worked, there won't be some other kind of commentary about lenses and crap like that. Right, so there's the drawing. This is that piece. Where are we? That way around. So the slots, the holes, the drilled and tapped holes in there, holding the tool pieces in, the slot there, if you give me but a minute. That's the rack. Obviously that's going to be a tap in there when I tap it in. I'm not going to do it now, it's ready for just tapping in, and I'll do it, let's say, on final assembly. Holes drilled through there, drilled and tapped. That, I think, is finished. It's a fairly brand new cutter for doing this dovetail, and I'm pretty chuffed with that. It was only after looking at this, it's actually got a reference down there for the depth. Me working it all out, thinking I'm a clever sod. Oh, and I'll do all of this. It's actually got a reference, 139 thou. I think I worked out 138 something or other, some 10, so it was near enough. But that's that bit done. I don't know what next. We'll have to wait and see.